this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Today, I want to talk about why I believe Africans are against Pan-Africanism. Now, living here in the United States, we are sort of a tribe of our own. We speak the same language. We've had the same experience, more or less. We have a very diverse but recognizable culture that we all participate in. Our worshiping style is about the same. Most of us are Christians, but there are other religions that still recognize one God. The plantation culture permeates throughout Black America. Even if you live in California, your family quite possibly originated in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, or some part of the South. Wherever you live in the United States, it's a good chance that you have family members in the South, the hub of Black America. So we have an understanding of each other. But the understanding that we have the best of is how America works. How we got here, how we were treated after we got here, and what we've had to do in America to sustain ourselves. We also know how this American empire came into being, and we know the part that we played in bringing this empire into being. So we don't play games about America and what America really is. And we understand that the same thing that has happened to us has happened to all of Africa and African descended people. Now we get that. I believe the people in the Caribbean get it. I'm sure they do. Everybody seems to get that, but Africans. The conferences of Berlin, and there were at least 2 of them, gave European leaders permission to go into Africa, pillage, plunder, rob, steal, kill, do whatever they had to do to get their resources, to colonize those countries. And what is just so striking to me and many other Black Americans is that Europeans can go into Africa and wreak havoc on those countries and those citizens, create all kinds of chaos, and they will turn on each other before they turn on the colonizers. They blame everything on each other. They will fight each other to the death instead of standing up to their colonizers. And don't tell me I need to go to Africa, because I believe what my Black American family tells me who have already been there. Also, I'm looking at what's happening in Burkina Faso. They have a young leader who is willing to put his life on the line to get France out of his country so they can take over and manage their own natural resources. And those Negroes over there in Burkina Faso have made about 4 or 5 attempts on his life. That's what I'm talking about. At least recognize where the problem is. So their answer is to fight each other on the side of the colonizer or run to somebody else's country, rather than stand up to their own governments, to stand up to the people who are colonizing them. Their solution to everything is to run. And then when they get to other countries, then they're going to fight the Black people like they do in South Africa and in the United States, trying to get smart, got a smart ass mouth when you get somewhere else, but won't fight at home for what's yours. So they really do not understand how the world works. And then they'll try to tell you, well, it's very complicated. You don't understand. It's complicated everywhere. And when we try to explain our situation to these Black immigrants, the first thing they want to say is, you complain too much. You complain about racism. There is no racism. You're just lazy. See, I think people who won't work for their own resources in their own country, see, I think that's lazy. I think that's very lazy and very cowardly. So in the Western world, in the Western Hemisphere, we all got here the same way. Now, if you were already here and your family is a Native American, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the ones who came here on slave ships, and I'm not going to be distracted by people who say they were already here, because you had the same experience too. But we did have a similar experience. We speak the same language. Jamaicans speak the same language. Haitians speak the same language. But in the case of the Africans, the continent is not united because of all of those countries, those tribes, those languages, and those cultures that they talk about. So they're not united. But still, they are united. They just don't recognize it. All of them were colonized by Europeans. Black Americans didn't colonize Nigeria. But they'll come over here trying to get smart with Black Americans, trying to give advice to people who are at home and didn't run, telling us there's no racism and you complain too much. Well, but this is our country that we worked for. That's the agency that we have to complain if that's what we want to do, because we know right from wrong in America. We have a constitution and we live by the constitution. And if something is going wrong with us that's not constitutionally correct, we have a right to say something about it. Or if it's just not morally correct, we have a right to say something about it because we suffered for this land. So now they're over in the UK and the white people over there are fighting them, but now they're talking about racism. But that's another video. But my point is that they don't like Pan-Africanism because the first thing is they're divided by language, culture, tribe. That's the main problem. But the main secondary problem is that they don't want to confront their colonizers, because that's who came in, and whatever problems they already had, the colonizers came in and made the problems worse. And their answer to everything is to run. And there is a disconnect between Africans and Black Americans and Caribbeans. There was a time when Black Americans, I think all Black Americans, saw the importance of Pan-Africanism, and also Caribbeans, because Marcus Garvey, Stokely Carmichael, even Minister Farrakhan, they came from the Caribbean, and they're all revolutionaries. Malcolm X's mother also came from the Caribbean, and I'm sure she had an impact on his life as well as his father, who was of our lineage, but also a revolutionary. But now so many Black Americans are saying, no, we don't want to be part of it, because these people don't want to get together on the continent of Africa where all this stuff began in the first place. Selling your people off for a piece of red cloth or a bottle of rum. That's where the problem started, when people should have united and said, no, we're not going to sell our people, we're going to fight. So the Europeans bogarted their way into Africa, imposed their government, their educational system, just changed the way the Africans did things according to them. Some of the African countries patterned their parliament after the Europeans, up to and including wearing those white wigs on their head, which is just ridiculous. It's hard to shake those European people. And now they've got a new strategy going on where they've got the European leaders are sending these white women in to marry the African presidents. 3 or 4 of them are married to white women. See? So that's going to change the whole flavor of the leadership in that country, in those countries. So anyway, they don't believe in Pan-Africanism because they don't believe in unity. They prefer to stay with their tribalism, evidently, and then they want to run to other people's country. As the woman in the South African video said, they messed up their own countries. Now they're running to other people's countries. And the buck has to stop somewhere. So now in England, they got a whole civil unrest situation going on. And now you got Africans on TikTok talking about racism. I thought that was, okay, so there's no racism in the United States, but there's racism in the UK. And the people in the United States came from the UK. Okay, well, make it make sense. You can't, because it doesn't. So anyway, y'all, our made up definition of Pan-Africanism is really simple. And it is that Africans and all people of African descent are united in the knowledge that slavery, colonization, the plundering and pillaging of Africa have been destructive to the continent of Africa and all people of Africa and its diaspora. Now, to me, it's just that simple. You have to recognize it, because some people don't even want to recognize it. You want to fight other people. You want to fight other black people. That is the most destructive thing you can do. And white people are not making people do that. White people are not making black people do that. Black people are doing that because they're stupid. And that's all I got to say about that. But that's why Africans are against Pan-Africanism, because they don't want to work together. And they don't want to recognize and pinpoint the enemy, because they don't want that fight on their hands. Okay, y'all, thank you for listening. Have a good day and leave a comment.